Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something that feels, honestly, like a massive, almost impossible task: writing a nonfiction book, or maybe an educational textbook. But we're going to completely demystify it today with a step-by-step blueprint. So, whether you're an educator trying to share your expertise, a homeschooling parent putting together the perfect material for your kids, or just a professional wanting to level up your business, we're going to build your book right from the ground up. So, you finally decided to write a book. First off, congratulations, but now what? Look, I know exactly how that feels. You might have had this burning idea in your head for literally years. Maybe your colleagues keep telling you to put your knowledge on paper. But then you sit down, stare at that intimidating, glowing blank screen, and it is just so easy to feel completely paralyzed by the sheer scale of the whole thing. But getting started really doesn't have to be rough. And yeah, who doesn't love a dog diligently typing away on a yellow typewriter, right? But seriously, the truth is that writing a book isn't some mystical, unattainable art form that's just reserved for a chosen few. It's actually just a series of highly achievable, logical steps. If you just follow them, you will absolutely end up with a finished manuscript. All right, so here is the exact roadmap we're going to follow today. 1. Pre-writing and preparation. 2. Structuring your manuscript. 3. The drafting phase. 4. Editing and refining. 5. Citations and formatting. And 6. Publishing and endorsements. Let's jump straight into part 1, pre-writing and preparation. This phase is absolutely the foundation of your house. If you don't lay this down properly, the rest of the structure is going to wobble. You know, when new authors are asked who their audience is, the temptation is almost always to shout everyone because, well, we all want to think our ideas will inspire the whole world. But actually, a niche readership is almost always better than an audience that's way too broad. Think about it. If you're writing a book on children's nutrition, your audience shouldn't just be people who eat. It should be pediatricians or nutritionists. If it's a textbook, is it for primary, secondary, or university students? Pinning down a concrete audience keeps your work authentic, it gives your outline real focus, and it lets you gather real-time feedback from the actual people who are going to read it. Once you know exactly who you're writing for, you need an outline, and this brings us to the brilliantly simple storyboard method. You literally take every single topic idea floating around in your head and write it down on a separate sticky note or note card. Just keep going until your brain is completely empty. Then step back and start organizing them into a logical order on a wall or a big desk. Group them by theme. What you'll find is these clusters naturally develop into chapters, showing you exactly where you might need to expand on something or split things up. This really physical visual exercise eventually pairs down into a highly structured table of contents. Moving on to part 2, structuring your manuscript. This is where we take the daunting, intimidating scale of writing a book and make it mathematically achievable. The crucial thing here is the math. Just look at this breakdown. Step 1, write 1,000 words a day. Honestly, that's only about 3 typed pages. Step 2, do this for 60 days. That's just 2 months. Step 3, you have achieved a 60,000-word manuscript. When you break it down into these daily, bite-sized quotas, writing a book doesn't seem like it takes a lifetime anymore. It just takes a dedicated, focused season of a couple of months. Set a realistic target date, stick to your daily schedule, and maybe even enlist a friend to keep you accountable. Next up, part 3, the drafting phase. Okay, you've got your outline, you've got your daily word count goal. Now it is time for the furious mechanics of actually getting those words onto the page. And the absolute golden rule of this phase is simply just write. You have to give yourself permission to write down your thoughts without editing as you go. Do not stop to look up facts. Don't pause to fix a clumsy sentence. If you need to check a study or find a quote, just highlight it or put it in bold text so you know to come back to it later. Get all the content out of your head and onto the paper first. If you try to edit while you draft, you are going to completely kill your momentum. I want to offer a quick visual palette cleanser here, just to keep your inspiration high during what can honestly be a pretty grueling drafting phase. As Anne Frank beautifully put it, I can shake off everything as I write. My sorrows disappear, my courage is reborn. When the writing gets tough, remember the profound personal power of simply putting your ideas out into the world. All right, part 4. Editing and refining. Okay, so you've finished your draft, the frame of the house is built, and now it's time to add the polish. This phase is absolutely critical because your professional credibility is directly tied to the cleanliness of your text. Studies have actually shown that readers will doubt an author's credibility as a professional in their field if they spot even minor editing mistakes. It might seem unfair. Knowing what a comma splice is doesn't mean you aren't a brilliant web developer or child psychologist, but that is how readers judge us. So let's look at a few quick things you can catch in your own writing right now. Here's a rapid-fire grammar lesson on one of the most common mistakes out there: fewer versus less. Fewer refers to numbers of things you can physically count, like pencils, people, or dogs. Less refers to a general amount of something, like water, sadness, or importance. You wouldn't say, "I have fewer water," right? You'd say, "I have less water." Similarly, you wouldn't say, "There are less dogs at the park." You'd say, "There are fewer dogs." Simple, right? Okay, how about this one? IE versus EG. These ancient Latin abbreviations make almost every writer pause for a second. So IE means that is. You use it when you're about to redefine or clarify something, like the banana was ripe, i.e. it was yellow. But EG means for the sake of example. And there's a brilliant, easy memory trick for this. EG looks like the word egg, and egg sounds like example. So just use EG when you're giving examples, like socks of many colors, e.g. purple, red, and blue. Once you've done your own sweep, it's time for feedback. You might have heard the industry jargon beta reader. A beta reader is really just a layperson or trusted peer who reads your work to offer some constructive criticism. And here's a really fascinating point from the sources. While some people like to crowdsource this, the sources note that you should actually only give your manuscript to a select few people you highly trust to give useful feedback. Ask them for specific insights, like if the flow works or if the concepts are clear, so you don't get completely overwhelmed by way too many conflicting opinions. Moving on to Part 5, Citations and Formatting. Now for the technical finishing touches, which are especially critical if you're writing a nonfiction book based on research or an educational textbook. When it comes to giving credit without losing your reader's flow, you generally have two options. First is the simple in-text citation, where you just put the author and date in parentheses right after the quote. But honestly, if you have a lot of citations, that gets incredibly clunky. That is why endnotes are fantastic. You just place a tiny superscript number after the quote, and that links to a note section at the end of the chapter or the book. It preserves that beautiful visual flow of your paragraphs, and if you're self-publishing, finding a reputable style guide is key. The Chicago Manual Style is highly recommended by our source material. And finally, Part 6, Publishing and Endorsements. The manuscript is clean, it's formatted, and now it is time to open the doors and push your book out into the real world. But before you publish, you're going to need an author bio. I wanted to include this little snippet from author Marie DeHaan's bio because it proves a wonderful point. Nonfiction and textbook bios do not have to be dry. Just listen to this. She, quote, agonizes about adding a plastic surgeon to the mix, all the while trying to stay on top of medical bills, lose weight, fulfill her dream of meeting Fran Trescher, and accomplish her never-ending to-do list. It's deeply engaging, it's highly personal, and it immediately makes you want to read her book. If your format allows it, definitely have a little fun with your bio. You're also going to want endorsements to put on your book jacket. Target well-known authors in your field. Show up like a pro. Don't beg, and keep your requests to a few compelling sentences, complimenting their work first to build some rapport. But here is an incredible industry secret revealed in the text. A lot of well-known authors will actually ask you to send them sample testimonials. That's right, you should absolutely draft your own endorsement examples for them to choose from. Make it as easy as possible for them to say yes, and you'll be shocked at the big names who might actually endorse your work. And when it's finally time to print, especially if you're an educator making a specific textbook for your students or a self-published author, know that the traditional barriers are completely gone. You no longer need to navigate complex traditional publishing houses unless you actually want to. Online printing sites offer incredible customization for binding, formatting, and paper options, allowing you to hold a beautifully bound professional copy of your hard work right in your own hands. So we've covered the entire blueprint today, from finding your niche audience to writing 3 pages a day, pushing through that messy draft, polishing the grammar, getting trusted beta feedback, and finally securing those crucial endorsements. The roadmap is right in front of you. So the only question left to ask yourself is this: your audience is waiting. What will your first page say? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Now go grab those sticky notes and start building your book.